I'd like to welcome you to this special meeting of Council. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the voices and images of those participating in the meeting and in the gallery may be captured as part of this recording. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and pay our respects to elders past and present. As councillors, we have all taken an oath to carry out our duties in the best interests of the people of Indigo Shire and to do this in a fair and impartial manner. We are all committed to exercising the Council's powers and functions to the best of our skills and abilities and judgment. Apologies and leave of absence. We have apologies from Councillor Goldsworthy, Councillor Murdoch and Councillor O'Connor. Do we have any other apologies? We have got a quorum. Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest? We'll go straight to item 9.1, which is the 2019-2020 Budget Council Plan. Submitters requesting to be heard. We'll start with submission number 3, which is the Yackandandah District Historical Society. There's a microphone. If you come to the rostrum. You've each got a maximum period of 5 minutes to speak.
Okay. Well, I've cut mine down because of that. Anyway, good evening, everybody. My name is Pam Noble, and I'm the Treasurer for the Yackandandah District Historical Society. We're here tonight to ask for some financial assistance in meeting the cost of a museum manager and a part-time support assistant. For the past 2 years, we have lost money, and this is causing much concern. Last year, our loss was over $2,000. Currently, we pay for a part-time museum front-of-house manager who works 3 days a week and for a part-time assistant who works 1 day per week. This costs the Society $23,000 per annum. In order to keep our opening days, which are Wednesday to Sunday each week and all week during Victorian school holidays, we rely on volunteers, but they can be difficult to recruit and rely on. We recently have lost the services of 2 volunteers through age and relocation. To pay for part-time staff, we fundraise by making and selling jams, sauces, books, jigsaws, plants, fresh produce, knitted items, craft items, town garage sales we take part in, but
accidentally. There you go.
okay. So all these items are then donated back to the museum from members and volunteers. These are what we sell to just try and keep ourselves afloat. Membership fees also contribute to our income, as do museum entry box donation box takings. But unfortunately, many visitors don't seem to carry much cash with them these days. We currently have close to 100 members. We were awarded an accreditation by Australian Museums and Galleries Association in May 2001 and undergo an intensive examination process every 4 years in order to keep our accreditation. Along with the Burt Museum, we are the only museums in the Shire to hold this distinction. There are many services we offer, and we have a large collection of over 11,000 items, which is all thoroughly databased or digitised. I won't go into that because of time, but just to summarise, whilst we very much appreciate the $2,500 given to us each year, which I understand is for administrative costs, this has never been increased since before I joined the Society in 2006. In our submission letter of the 20th of March, we estimated a loss of $4,000 at our financial year end on the 30th of April. I am pleased to say that due to an unexpected influx of visitors to the town and the good weather during March and April, we had an increased number of visitors to the museum. This boosted our expected income, so we ended the year with an actual loss of $820. And if anybody's interested, I do have the full P&L accounts here showing all the items we do and how we came to this loss this year. We also appreciate and acknowledge the cost of insurance which is borne by the Shire each year. We know we form a critical part of Yackandandah visitor offering, as evidenced by the number of visitors to the museum. This is also borne out by the many comments in our visitors book. We, the Historical Society, all passionately believe in the importance of preserving and displaying the special heritage of this Shire, and it would be wonderful if we could be freed from some of the burden of continual fundraising and to be able to concentrate on what we do best, which is running a museum. Therefore, we urge you to give serious consideration to our request for whatever degree of funding the Council deems appropriate, so that we can continue our operations with competent staffing and continue to offer our services, continue to contribute to the success of Yackandandah, and, most importantly, continue to keep our doors open. Thank you very much.
Do we have any questions? Just stay there for a second. Councillor Trenery.
No, not at this stage. I believe there's other speakers on this matter too, so
Yes, it's just somebody to follow. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for clarification for everyone, is it, Mr Mayor, is it 5 minutes for the group or is it 5 minutes for individuals?
Entire section, for that session, yeah. First submission. First submission.
My name is Phil Berkner. I'm from the museum, member of the museum, and I'd just like to add a couple of small items to Pam's speech. In 2019, we had 5,594, for the year ending May 2019, 5,594 visitors to our museum. Historically, Beechworth and Yackandandah are very much connected, and it's important for the visitors of Yackandandah Museum to be forwarded on to the Burke Museum in Beechworth and vice versa. We get a lot of requests from people in and outside our area for matters of research and historical records such as at the cemetery. With the rail and epic bike trails coming to Yackandandah from Beechworth, the staff will experience a significantly greater demand on its services, especially with the advent of the 2 bike trails. Catering for bikers and accompanying visitors who are likely to be much interested in places they visit, including history and heritage, will require greater staff availability, expertise, and sufficient staff with knowledge, and a stable ongoing management will determine the impressions that they get and take home with them as goodwill. It adds to the reputation and widens the awareness of Yackandandah in the region, which through casual conversation will be promoted back home by these visitors, leading to more future visitations and economic benefit to the Shire. And I'd just like to leave you with a little quote from Marcus Garvey, who died in 1940, but a Jamaican publisher. A people without knowledge of their past, their history, their origin and culture is like a tree without roots. Thank you.
Do we have any questions at all? Councillor Trenery.
You knew how many of those 96,000 visitors to the museum. Do you have any understanding of how many come from out of town or out of?
A significant number, probably from my knowledge, around about 80 to 85%.
I certainly haven't got any questions. That looks like it. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Shepherd.
You've asked for $75,000 and you made a loss of $820. So I'm just trying to work out what do you need? A loss of $820 doesn't sort of speak to us for $75,000. So I suppose,
Said in the submission, I appreciate that.
yep,
But, yeah, I mean, to be honest, as I just said in my speech, I would appreciate any funding that the council thinks would be appropriate to help us just increase the payments of staff with like, they can work longer hours so that we can pay them, for more full-time workers against part-time work. Currently, we pay 20,000 for the two people, but we'd like to increase that to 50, 60,000. But, maybe the council could help us out a little to get towards that. That would be much appreciated.
thank you.
Yep, sure.
Turn my microphone this time. So at $23,000, how many hours do the staff work?
3 days a week, which is from 11 till 4, and a part-time assistant does 1 day a week for the same number of hours, which is 5.5 hours a day.
And James, I also volunteer approximately another 6 hours a week. And so does the other paid assistant. She's constantly in there as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Submission number 4 is the Kuganya Memorial Hall Committee of Management.
Good evening. My name's Steve Larkin. I'm here to represent the Kuganya Memorial Hall submission to the current budget. The Kuganya Hall services both Kuganya and the Gandarian communities, which is in the Koowa Valley, part of the Shire. Our submission is based around developing the reconstruction of the hall and the removal of the supper room, which we can allow the hall to be extended into the footprint of the supper room. Our belief is that we need to be developing a building fund to source external money from the state government. Currently, this financial year, there's $40,000 been allocated by the Shire, which we're grateful of. The Hall Committee's got $40,000 in kitty already, and they would try and get up to $50,000. Our belief is if we could get somewhere around, whether it's this year or next year, in the order of $100,000, that we can go to the state government and say, listen, we've made this commitment, we've got money from the community, we've got money from the Shire, we need state government money in the order of, say, another $200,000 to undertake the building works. That's basically it. And just as historically, there's been some plans to undertake building works to lift the floor in the supper room. Look, I've got extensive experience in building design. It was a bad idea. It's the building has got rising damp. It's 90 years old. It's just once knocking over. No one would argue with you, but somehow it got traction over. We'll lift the floor, and it's just a poor idea. But this idea where we can extend the hall into the supper room area, it'll service the Kuganya and Gandarian communities a lot better. It'll have seating capacity up around the 140, 150 seats, which makes a lot more functions more viable. It's a good idea. Has got anybody any questions?
Do you have any questions, James?
Thank you for the submission. You're asking for, in the submission itself, the written is $40,000 that we've already got in the budget.
Yes, that needs to be.
And $20,000 on top of that.
That's right.
And now you're saying about $100,000 all up? Or?
Yeah, and I think the council could go to the state government and say, listen, we've got money in the order of $100,000, whether it's this year or say in next year's budget, you might be able to put $10,000 or some extra amount of dollars to say that we can use this money to lever the majority of the money off the state government.
So you're talking about raising also another $10,000?
Yes, we'll try and do, yeah.
If Indigo Shire said in the next year, it'd match you dollar for dollar in that amount up to $50,000, would that be an acceptable way of going about
Yeah,
it?
but there also needs to be a lot of work done by the Shire in doing this lobbying to the state government.
Of course, yeah.
To source this external money. Now, the Liberal government party saw the benefits of it prior to the state government elections, but obviously didn't get elected, so.
Do we have any other questions? So Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you for the plan that was attached, sort of gave me a bit of an idea. The $250,000, how is that being costed?
It hasn't been, it's just a guesstimate, I'll admit
It's just a
that.
guesstimate.
But the plans are at the moment are just concept plans that I've prepared.
There are concept plans.
Yeah, which that plan you're seeing there.
Yeah.
There obviously needs to be some architectural plans drawn, but that would be part of the submission when it goes off to the state government. We can do more work
Right.
to go through that.
Well, it's a lovely hall.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a historic hall. The community wants to maintain the timber inside it. Yeah, and they want to maintain it. And I think if we push it out into that old supper room, then we'll have a magnificent facility.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
Thanks very much, Steve. Submission number 5 is Alicia Quaglio. Not present. We'll go on to submission number 6, Robin McLeish. Just before you start, we'll just check. If it was a courtroom, you could have called the name 3 times.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Robin.
My name's Robin McLeish, and I always take the pleasure of making a submission to the budget. And I'm sure that now that I've circulated my submission to all councillors, I might reverse the process and see whether there's any questions. Because the submission takes 5 pages, I'm not going to be able to cover very much tonight. So if there's any particular questions councillors might have, I'll try and address those.
Do we have any questions for Robin?
In the capital management, you talked about the CAB. Can you just expand probably a bit on that in regards to the benefits it would be to probably information for the general public, for the ratepayers?
The Shire, or the council, has grown from a small country town into a substantial shire, and we're looking at a budget with an expenditure of $34.5 million this year, or for the coming year. And of that, $10.7 million will be capital works. And the current system, where I've asked on previous occasions for members of the community to have the opportunity to make input very early in the year, in January, February, so that it can be part of the structure of the budget. We've not yet got to that stage. And I'm saying that the current system does not provide sufficient information on projects, and there is a lack of detail in the content of the categories. We've got about 5 pages at the back of the budget that lists with a sketch of the work that's going to be done, and it can be quite confusing as to what actually is going to be done. And as I said, there's a lack of detail in the content of the categories. If we look at footpaths, where we're saying that we're going to spend quite an extraordinary amount of money next year on footpaths. If I just get the budget entry for footpaths should report separate entities to identify the actual investment in footpaths versus rail trails, cycle tracks and cycleways. The consolidated figure of $1,072,000 for 2018-19, increasing to $3,686,000 in 2019-20, really reflects the major investment council's making in cycleways. So I think we should have specific detail as to what those categories are, so that people can make a judgment whether their needs are being serviced. The capital budget should stand alone. It should not just be an attachment or a series of pages in the back of the budget, but the final figures derived from the capital budget should be linked to the budget. And approval of the budget should not be seen as approval of each of the projects in the capital budget. Therefore, the capital budget should not be approved at a meeting that says this is the budget, the capital budget's approved at the same time. It would be rather the approval that that capital can be what's regarded as going to be spent. All major projects should be then formally approved at council meetings, and projects approved but not commenced in the budget year should be re-entered into the next year's budget for approval. So where we've got projects that have been approved but no work's been done on them, they just automatically flow across. And in the passage of time, that has changed. And if you look at the rail shed, there's significant changes there, and we've got approval for it, but we really should be going back and looking at the financial justification that we've prepared for that. As the second issue is the structure of the council, but I'll just make sure that that's covered what you were asking for in terms of the capital appropriation budget.
I've just got another question on that, and I'm obviously understanding the CEO probably question if we go longer than 5 minutes, Robert, and we only got to the first part. But
I'm not going to go much further.
You were talking about in regards to the submissions and the way it's been, the way we've done it in the past. It's hard to implement it into the budget at the stage that it's done. Could you see a solution where we start looking at implementing some of these in the mid-year review, which gives us 6 months? It doesn't give us the opportunity, obviously, at the start, but do you see a solution there?
Yeah, I see the budget and the capital appropriation budget as a living document that really what you're setting when you approve it at this stage of the budget process is to say that's the amount of capital that's going to be spent. That's what we can afford. We may then make some changes to it as we go through the year, but ultimately we're always going to report back to the budget in terms of the actual expenditure that we've achieved or we've undertaken, rather than setting a new set of standards midway through the year.
Thank you, Robin. Mr Mayor, I'm happy for it to go around the table because I've got a few other questions. I can just see Robin and I having a personal conversation and no one else getting much of an opportunity. So I'm happy for it to go around and then come back to me.
Councillor Price? No. Councillor Shepherd? Continue, Councillor, you're doing well.
In regards to, and I'll skip through a bit if I can, you've covered a fair bit in that last conversation, but employee costs, you've made a few assumptions there in regards to the FTEs and also the percentage in regards to, I think it was superannuation, holidays, long service and things. I just wonder if you could expand on that a little bit, please.
Well, they're not assumptions, they're extracts from the budget document. The increase in costs for long service leave and holidays is rated at 8%, for salaries at 6%, and we've got a situation where I think it's about 2 additional FTEs have been, full-time equivalents have been added to council. So we're getting a substantial increase in the cost of employment for those people. But the actual calculation has to take into account the number of people, their zonal levels, and their duration that they're going to be employed for in the budget. So they're not assumptions.
That'll do me. I'm happy with that. Thank you.
That's it? You're happy with that?
Very happy with that. Do you want to add something, Robin?
No, I hope that the document itself has been self-explanatory in terms of providing the information for councillors of the issues that I've raised regarding the budget, and that I will be able to get a written response formally from council as to the content, rather than taking up everybody's time tonight to take each individual item. That's it? You're happy?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just add that, just for clarification, if I can, Robin, you will be getting written responses. We decided to do that about 3 years ago because you obviously put a lot of time and effort into this, and I know quite a few councils enjoy your information that comes through, so you'll be getting a written response on all of those.
Just to explain what the process is from now, on next Thursday night, the budget paper should be on the website. Your submission will be there, and what will be added to it will be the officer who's in charge of the section that you have put in a submission about will put a comment, which you'll be able to read. That won't have any influence on the councillors who will make the decision, but there'll be a comment there which we won't be bound by, and the council will come out the following week. The budget will be debated the following week. Thank you for your attendance. There's no general business because it's a special meeting of council. I now declare the meeting closed.